Hey, welcome to Dollar Views. I'm Brian Gillis.
And I'm Stephen Montmanex.
We're just a couple of Long Beach State film grads with a lifelong passion for cinema trying to put our money where our mouths are.
And we decided to make our BAs mean something by giving our take on the latest film releases.
Plus, any other media we've ingested over the past week.
Whether that's the latest buzzworthy show,
An album that's been on constant rotation,
that indie darling no one can shut up about,
a cute romantic comedy,
or the latest Michael Bay masterpiece.
we go over it all. $1 at a time.
Don't open that door! They're going to get all of us killed! Something's coming.
We probably should have a spoiler warning from here on out, honestly, because, I don't know, do you think that's fair? Because I don't think anyone knows anything really about this movie, so anything we say could be a potential spoiler. I mean, the trailer covers about, the first 20 minutes of the movie?
I don't know. I think, there's flashes of end of the film stuff, but I think we can talk about this without ruining anything. I mean, because
I'm just saying anything we potentially say though could be considered a spoiler. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Learn how not to say spoilers.
Well, no, it's just whatever we say, whether it's just like one moment, whether it's early on in the film, like that still could be a spoiler for somebody who's going in fresh and doesn't want to know anything. I mean, because I knew basically nothing. It was just that one trailer before 13 hours. That was it.
I trust my ability to talk about a movie without giving anything away. And yeah, you're right. This totally is a film where going in with nothing, knowing nothing totally is a huge payoff. It has a great reward, especially, the final 20 minutes or something like that. But I think it stands on its merits alone that we can have a fine conversation without going into the nitty-gritties of the plot.
Well, I'm saying, it's not like I'm trying to specifically mention a spoiler. I'm just saying anything I say could be, interpreted as a spoiler to somebody because there's so little that's out there about this movie.
Well, they could turn it off then. We just talked for 2 minutes.
Yeah, there is that too.
Yeah, so I didn't really watch anything this week. So yeah, I mean, that's basically it. I went and saw this on a whim. I was supposed to see it Thursday midnight. A friend called me, but then 10 minutes later I called him back. He's like, "Oh, I'm already in the movie." So yeah, I caught an early evening show last night. Pretty good sized crowd. I would say it was, 40 people. So that's not bad for something this small and this much of a surprise.
Yeah, my screening was at 9 in the morning on a Saturday. So
during South by Southwest.
Yeah, all the way on the other side of town, people are doing something else. So there really wasn't much for that.
Yeah, I mean, someone tried to have a conversation with me about this last night, and I was like, look, I'm having a conversation. I'm going to record a conversation about 12 hours. I'd rather not get into this. I don't really know where to start. I guess we got to start with Cloverfield. I know, this is basically a sequel, or as J.J. Abrams described it himself, a blood relative. It's in the title, even though it's more organic here. Why it's it's named that way?
Yeah, I guess it's referred to as a cousin. It's okay. So to me, that means it's set in the same universe. Although the timing of these events, whether they're concurrent or there's a large gap of time, and there's a lot of valid theories to guess as to why.
I think this film takes place, it begins when Cloverfield begins.
I think it's concurrent. Just the way I'm thinking about it is that the events in Cloverfield, that's more like a, send in the brutes to do their thing because it happens instantaneously in that moment. And then here they're underground for a short while of time. So there's more time for organization.
Now that I think about it,
that's what I think.
There's one thing that happens, which there's one or two little winks at you. And one of them is this radio conversation that's heard early days in the film before it even really starts. And it's there's power outages, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that must be a wink over at what's going on in New York at this time. Mm-hmm. But then again, what you said about the brutes, that could be maybe, Manhattan was... First up, if you haven't seen Cloverfield, by now you probably won't. The first film, found footage, pretty hard to stomach, is about 80 minutes. T.J. Miller's the camera operator, so you have to hear his voice like every 5 seconds.
Yeah, he's incredibly obnoxious,
Yeah,
and yet the movie manages to like just
work
transcend
anyway,
that. Yeah, just because of the sense of urgency and immediacy of it. But I mean, yeah, no, and I did hear. I swear that there was just a moment where they're underground, and like they hear something up above. I swear that was the sound of the Cloverfield monster.
In this?
Yeah, so
Maybe.
and then
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
like, and then you
I
see
heard that
different
sound,
stuff like compared from in the middle to later on. Yeah, so I mean that's kind of where I get that theory from. Without being too specific. If you've seen the movie or both movies, you probably
You're gonna pick up.
I imagine you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
there's a letter that you see in this one room that has like this Japanese professor's name on it, which was one of the names during the augmented reality, or what they call it, the AR publicity.
Alternate reality. Yeah.
Yes.
No, it wasn't augmented. No.
Whatever the yes.
Like, was that a VR thing, or I don't know how
No, it's
that
not
worked.
VR. I mean, like the viral campaign for Cloverfield, which I was actually a part of. I got like a letter in the mail from Rocket Puppeteers that said like I'm a space cadet in training or something. But this movie stands on its own. Like it is a fine film separated from Cloverfield. I just think there's a really good payoff for people that were either fans of that original film or they want a more gravitas, because this is very much so a Hitchcockian, just like basement thriller.
Yeah, just right down to the Bernard Berman's esque
score.
score, and then the titles that are very Saul Bass-esque right at the end.
And it's just the cutting style, for almost entire movie, it's very, classical Hollywood, just a very slow pace, lots of camera pans and camera work instead of just cut, trying to build tension. You'll do it with, a pan, or there's this moment in the beginning where Mary Elizabeth Winstead, she wakes up in the room, and instead of all these angles, it's like, here she is in bed, we're going to flip the camera, it's going to follow her, we're going to track a little bit, and it must have been like 2 minutes or so of basically introductory shot in a room with one character.
Yeah, I love how that shot is blocked, like just how you get all the exposition that you need without any dialogue, and it's just, that's just classic filmmaking. You rarely get that. Yeah, we're so used to getting cut.
Mm-hmm.
No one has the confidence to let a shot draw out that long, but then there's other elements, like, there's the music that's keeping the momentum going, and it's just, it was really, that was a strong way to open it.
It's pretty fun. I mean,
and
very few people are going to
also,
go see... Well, first off, we don't know how many people have seen this already, but very few people are going to go see a film with 3 characters.
As of now, it did I think it's a 9 million debut, so
that's not bad, but then it's still up against Deadpool and Zootopia.
Oh no, its budget is. I've seen 2 different things. I see right now I see 15 million on.
I think it's closer to 30 with the marketing.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, I think I saw that too, like a month ago. But then I also saw something say 5 million. Like, and that wouldn't be out of the realm of plausibility for me. But I mean, because this, like, it reminds me kind of like what Jason Blum is doing, just these very low budget movies that are largely set in one setting. And yeah, you could do that for 5 million. I could buy that, and it's not like, I don't know what John Goodman's what he commands as a salary, but I don't think it's
Winstead getting. What's JJ get as a producer?
Well, then also you got really good effects at the end. I'm assuming from ILM. That car crash maybe was a little bit dodgy, but yeah, at the end though they were really good.
Lots of money in those last 20 minutes.
Yeah. Speaking of which, just title placement.
Pretty cool.
I know. I love that. I just love, like, whenever you get a smash cut to silence, like to something else, like it's such a great way to get people to pay attention.
But I kind of touched on this before, saying it's kind of a Hitchcock movie. This could really take place in any time period. This could be, like a World War II bunker movie. This could be a Vietnam movie. This could be whenever, just, pending doom, some kind of fanatic who built a doomsday bunker to, just persevere. But then, the further you get into it, the more questions you raise about not just the other people in the bunker itself, but what might be going on the outside world. The more you think about that, it's pretty clear that this is, set in a science fiction present day Cloverfield, where I guess
that's
2008.
Later on,
now,
which going into it, I don't know if just having the title Cloverfield in there kind of defeats the purpose, but there was always that sense of not knowing, like just not getting a sense of time, knowing that in some way they're connected. But for all I knew, I had no idea if, this could have been like something like before the events of the other Cloverfield movie or something,
like
and
this
it just
ended
if it would have a
with
sci-fi ending at
with
all.
like
But
the opening of Cloverfield or something. But it's pretty
Yeah.
apparent the further you get into it. And like I said, there is a great payoff for people that are fans of that original film. But I was interested in this when it was just called Valencia. I was like, ooh, it's Dan Trachtenberg who did Portal and No Escape, and it's Mary Elizabeth Winstead and John Goodman's attached. And I was like, this sounds really interesting. What is it? Oh, and it's a bad robot. And then, the further it gets, and then you find out it's a Cloverfield movie about 2 months ago, which is still really impressive that they were able to pull that off with the way the internet works now.
that is, I mean, it makes sense, I think, because you don't need like the way that marketing works, at least for big movies. You get teasers and stuff to like at least get people aware or somewhat familiar, and then it's not really till like 2 months in usually, or 2 months before, that they really start pumping everything out and going, hey, we're coming, guys, we're coming.
Yeah, but think about just the Sundance movies that we already know about, and that's like 9 months away from now, or like 6 months at the very least.
Yeah, but I mean, those are also, they don't get that big of a marketing push, aside from people on the internet that are looking for them, and it's always more based on word of mouth because they start out limited and then they get bigger and bigger as they go.
I don't know, Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, that was a huge movie, but then again, it's because
was that heavily marketed though? I mean,
not marketed, but yeah, word of mouth.
Only art house theaters are where I saw the trailer for that, and that's typically how that works for any art house flick or a Sundance flick. It never really ever goes wide. At
That's
least
what's
I
funny.
never see it do that.
If this wasn't a Paramount movie, if there wasn't that Cloverfield connection, this could probably be a Sundance flick.
Oh yeah, easily.
Like really great performances, great music, interesting story. It's pretty short. I think it's like an hour and 40 minutes. It's riveting. It harkens back to an older day, like Hitchcockian. It's a thriller where you're on the edge of your seat for some moments, but then you're laughing, and then you're just interested in what's going to happen. And the fact that there's only 3 characters, you can really get invested in all of them. Even though it is, I don't know if it's marketed this way or maybe it will be, but this is the latest in the long run of now female protagonists that can kick ass and save the day. In a non whatchamacallit, Mary Sue way.
Yeah, I mean, it was just everything that she went for was very practical. And it made sense. Like, that's what someone would do in that situation, just out of desperation to get out. Just about the Cloverfield thing, this is something that, I don't know, while I was watching it just kind of worried me, because this is a movie that is about captivity, basically, although... Yeah. Then again, you're never really sure whether John Goodman's intentions are honest, whether he's like actually a good guy, but then it becomes clear later on, like, he is fucked up, but then there is also something really happening, which actually kind of makes it worse, because this is a guy that is kind of counting on this thing to happen. So when he's proven right, he feels some sense of power or control or entitlement, and that makes him a bit more dangerous.
He's bad no matter what way you look at it.
Yeah.
The fact that he built this bunker in the first place and he's a ruler over its domain, it's like a master servant type thing going on. If nothing was going on in the real world, he'd be really bad. But since there kind of is, he's not so much. Like, he thinks he's a savior, but he's not, because he's abusing the people around him, and he has power over this domain, and he has secret compartments and all kinds of shit. It's John Goodman. Was it just me, or were there shades of like the ending to Red State in this film for you? I
mean, yeah, sort of. Like, and that's, I guess that'll go back to that, because when you're watching Red State for the first time and those horns go off, like, yeah, there is a moment where I'm just thinking, is this really fucking happening? Like, in the logic of this movie, like, I'm willing to buy it, but is this actually happening? And the stuff that's going on outside, it was kind of like that, because having familiarity with, like, the Cloverfield event, but then, only being stuck in this, space underground, it's like, what is going to happen? And it really is until, there is that one sequence in the trailer that they build up to where she's outside, and I'm sorry, if you don't want to hear it, shut it off now, but I'm going to say it up for like the next 30 seconds. But that woman that's out there, like, and she's just bleeding. And just, all that kept going through my mind is, oh fuck, like her
This
head
actually
is going to
happened.
explode
Yeah.
at any fucking second, and you see just how desperate John Goodman is to not let her in. So I mean, yes, he's not a good guy, but I mean, that is what's like interesting too, just about his character is like half the time, like I kind of believe that he's telling the truth, that like. For little things like when he says like, yeah, there was an event, okay, obviously he knows that,
Like
that
I
the
worked
air's
in the Navy for so long, I know what the helicopters sound
that
like,
the
and
that the air is unbreathable outside. Like there are things later on that you see why he would think that, but and it's just like, God, yeah, just I think really, like you said, like this could have been something without the Cloverfield title, but like just that one moment, like really, I guess it's already having familiarity with the rules of that movie and having a fair idea of what's outside, that just enhanced it for me, because I seriously was expecting an exploding head in that moment. I mean, there's glass right there, like I'm just expecting like just it to splatter with blood any fucking second. That was a really, really fucking tense moment for me, and that pretty much. I mean, yeah, it was a done deal of what was going on at that point. Like you knew at least that if it wasn't the same thing, yeah, something was definitely going on.
so I read this thing online on Slash Film. I think it was like a week or two ago now, where they were drawing at straws, saying, "Oh, like we've heard speculation or rumors that Cloverfield's going to be a new anthology title at Bad Robot, and that
Which is
how they're
fair,
working
yeah.
on an." It is fair. But it was just conjecture since the film wasn't out. But then there's this fun thing where they were saying, the new film at Paramount that JJ is also producing with Bad Robot that's going to be micro budget in space. They're like, well, what if that's a Cloverfield movie too? And they're just keeping it hush hush again. And so there is speculation there, and I think that it is plausible, especially the way that this film ends and what it's pointing to. But then again, this film could get just an outright sequel, and I think people. But then again, I don't know, because the sequel for this film would be really expensive.
You know what? I don't know if this necessarily needs a sequel though, because I can without really spoiling it, I can see like how someone is going to survive after. Well,
I don't know.
I'm not going
I'm
to
just
spoil
saying-
it directly, but you can pretty much tell who I'm talking about, even if you haven't
There's
seen the movie,
gonna
I'm sure.
be at the end you have this urge or this desire to see a continuation of this story.
I don't.
And-
I can buy honestly that things will move on. That's the thing with anthologies, is that especially anthology films, when they're set in the same universe, you leave one character and you move on. And if you do different films like that, yeah, I'm sure that person will be fine and they'll be able to get through this. Now, show me another corner of what's happening. I mean, you can throw me little clues or something of what's going on, but I'm not sure I want to see it continue. Like, because I mean, that's the thing. Usually, the best movies leave you wanting more, and then if you start giving me more, then there's going to be a point where I get tired of it. So I'd rather, I mean, maybe give me clues, yeah, later on, like I said, but I'd rather see something different of what's going on.
Well, I think at the very least there's going to be a next chapter in this Cloverfield series. Paramount would be pretty silly not to, especially how well this one turned out, even if it doesn't have the box office numbers yet. It's still
No.
early days. The weekend's not over.
Well, it's
And,
doing-
this is a word of mouth movie for sure. Like, if
Yeah.
you're, especially if you're just looking for a good thriller, if you're looking for a sci-fi movie, it does it too. Like, if you just want good acting, if you are a fan of Dan Trachtenberg, even though he has like almost nothing on his resume besides commercials and that Portal short film.
I think that's mainly a internet thing, or I don't know. I mean, you're familiar with him. I'm I've heard him on podcasts. The guy's really insightful to listen to, and yeah, I know that people are big fans of him. So yeah, I'm glad to see that. It's really cool that someone who's been so active online is able to make a movie like that, and it has an audience that they can connect with already. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like this movie. Yeah, I wish I didn't pay $12.50 to see it. I've been much happier if I paid like $10. But I'd still buy it for $1. I think it's really good cinema. It just harkens back to a older time, a different era of filmmaking, and yet it's able to incorporate modern day, not just storytelling, but also effects. And it really does. It has a great payoff. Like it's real tense for a long time, and then it really like has fireworks.
Yeah, just as a thriller, like it really, I don't want to. I was always with it. I was always surprised by like where things went, how things escalated. Especially just for. I mean, it stays pretty close to the PG-13 rating, but there are things that there's just elements that are you never see introduced, at least in a feature. You only see really used in Breaking Bad. But yeah, just I don't know. Based on what my standard is of whether or not I would buy this for $1, it's not something that I think I will seek out. But I really, really dug the hell out of it. It's a really good theater movie to see with an audience. I imagine I'm kind of upset that I didn't have a big one, but obviously, Saturday morning, and you take what you can get.
Well, I don't think many people are going to see this with a big audience, though. I just don't see it having that kind of draw, especially, like I said, with Zootopia and March Madness is around the corner.
A decent one, for a Friday or Saturday night crowd.
I mean, they're
I don't know, and it was like, and that's the reason that I didn't go last night is because I saw, like, I looked at the pre-sale tickets and it was pretty full, and I would have only gotten some at the front row by the time I was there. But yeah, no, like I think it's definitely worth checking out. Like, it's a really, really, really good debut, really confidently made. There's very few, like, I got a couple tiny nitpicks here and there, but I really, really enjoyed it for the most part.
Same. Are you watching anything else this week? Because I didn't.
I'm not going to talk about Daredevil right now.
You heard you caught Daredevil? You mean the show?
Yeah, I'll save that. I'll reference that a bit. Yeah, on that. I still got like 6 episodes to go, I think, before season 2.
Okay. Well, Steve's trying to be coy. We're doing our next Debt to Cinema is on the Daredevil director's cut, and we're timing that because, as you may know, or you just caught Steve say, the second season of Daredevil on Netflix is hitting next Friday. So we're trying to line a couple things up here and there, and then again, Batman vs Superman is the Friday after that. So stay tuned to the show.
Oh wait, there's actually one thing. I did see Eddie the Eagle, which I'm not going to get too in depth into it, but I really dug it, man. Like, it's
cool run-ins.
It's Rudy, actually.
Same show.
Okay, yeah, it's Rudy just in the winter, which is really, really cool. It's
a feel-good sports movie about someone
very,
that shouldn't
very
be able to do it, but they're able to accomplish it, and then you go, fuck yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really good entertainment that makes you feel good at the end, and I doubt people are going to see it in the theater. They haven't really already at this point because it hasn't done great, but it's a really good movie, man. I recommend it.
To me, it just seems like one of those also-rans. It's like, ooh, what's his name, Targon Egerton? He's like, I really like Kingsman. He's in this. I'm going to check that out. And then it's like kind of good, but not making money. It's just one of those side gigs that an actor gets when they make the tent pole, every time they, for that sake, Hugh Jackman's in it,
Well, it's produced by Matthew Vaughn, and it was made at Fox, so it's still within that family. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be watching this on HBO now when it comes out.
Yeah, it's probably one of those. Thanks for listening. We hope it's been a pleasure. If you like this show and you want to hear more of our wonderful voices on a weekly basis, check out 2 Cents. I'll recap what's happened in film, TV, and tech news.
We're also on Debt to Cinema, where one or both of us crosses a title off our list of shame.
You can find all of our content at dollarreviews.net. Follow us on Twitter or like us on Facebook at Dollar Reviews.
We're available on iTunes, YouTube, TuneIn, Stitcher, and constantly looking to expand to other platforms.
If you listen somewhere we're currently not available, you'd like to contribute some talking points, send a Debt to Cinema request, or if you just want to laugh at us, you can do so by reaching out to us on social media or send an email to brian@dollarreviews.net.
Or you can email me as well, steve@dollarreviews.net.
You can follow me personally on Twitter at Brian Gillis, that's BryonGillis, and now you know how to spell the email too, and also under the same name on the lovely site Letterboxd, which acts as my film diary, where I rate films I'm watching, write the occasional review, and even sometimes compile lists.
You can also find me on Twitter at S_MTX, and also follow my film diary at Letterboxd under the same name, where I log everything I watch, and sometimes write brief reviews.
That's it for this week. Until next time, keep the change.